My name is Sarah Mitchell, and 3 weeks before my wedding, I accidentally received a voicemail my mother left for a videographer. In that 2-minute recording, my mother explained in explicit detail that the surprise wedding video she'd been working on for 6 months wasn't a beautiful tribute. It was a planned humiliation. She wanted to showcase every embarrassing moment of my life in front of 200 wedding guests because I'd gotten engaged without asking her permission. I had 3 weeks to decide what to do: stay silent and let her destroy my wedding day, or play the voicemail at the reception and let everyone hear who my mother really was. Welcome back to Calm Drama Story. This one is intense, so hit that subscribe button right now and get comfortable. Drop a comment and tell me, have you ever had a family member sabotage a major life event? Now let me tell you exactly what was on that voicemail, what I did with it, and what happened when I played it in front of everyone my mother wanted to impress. Let me tell you what it's like to grow up with a mother who sees you as a project that never quite turned out the way she planned. My mother, Linda, is 56 years old. She's the kind of woman who hosts charity luncheons and book clubs, who knows everyone worth knowing in our town, who always looks put together in a way that suggests she's never had a bad day in her life. She wears pearls to the grocery store. She irons her jeans. She has strong opinions about the appropriate length for skirts, and which colleges are worth attending, and whether it's acceptable to serve white wine with red meat. She had a very specific vision for what her daughter should be, and from the moment I was born, I was never it. I remember being 8 years old and performing in the school talent show. I'd been taking piano lessons for 2 years, practicing every single day after school in our living room. My teacher had given me a simple piece to play, just 3 minutes long, nothing too complicated. But I'd worked on it for weeks. I had the notes memorized. I could play it in my sleep. The night of the talent show, I sat at the piano on the school stage with bright lights in my eyes, and my parents sitting in the 3rd row. I could see my mother in her blue dress with her hands folded in her lap, watching me with that expression I'd come to recognize even then. Expectation mixed with skepticism, like she was waiting for me to prove her right about something. I started playing. The first verse went perfectly. My fingers found every note. I was doing it. I was actually doing it. And then, right at the start of the 2nd verse, my mind went blank. My hands froze above the keys. I stared at the sheet music in front of me and couldn't remember what came next. The silence in that auditorium felt like it lasted for hours. Every eye was on me. Every parent, every teacher, every kid in my grade watching me fail in real time. I looked out at my mother. She wasn't smiling. She wasn't encouraging. She just sat there with this look on her face that I would learn to recognize over and over again throughout my childhood. Disappointment, embarrassment, and underneath it all, something that almost looked like satisfaction. Like she'd known this would happen. Like I'd just confirmed something she'd suspected all along. I got up from the piano bench, didn't finish the piece, didn't bow, didn't do anything except walk off that stage as quickly as I could. Backstage, my piano teacher, Mrs. Chen, tried to comfort me. She told me it was okay. Everyone makes mistakes. First performances are always scary. She said I should be proud of myself for trying. But my mother didn't say any of that. When we got in the car after the show, she didn't mention it for the first 5 minutes. Then she sighed, that particular sigh I'd hear 1,000 more times growing up. The one that said she was disappointed, but not surprised. "Well," she said, looking straight ahead at the road, "I suppose we know piano isn't your thing." I was 8 years old. I'd made one mistake in one performance. But that was it. Piano lessons stopped the following week. My mother called Mrs. Chen and said we were discontinuing. She told me it was fine. Not everyone is musical. Maybe I'd find my talent somewhere else. I never touched a piano again. That became the pattern that would define my entire childhood. I'd try something. I'd stumble or fail or just not be immediately perfect at it. And my mother would smile that tight smile and suggest maybe I should try something else. something I'd be better at, something that wouldn't embarrass her. I joined the soccer team in 6th grade. I wasn't naturally athletic, but I liked running around, liked being part of a team, liked the feeling of working towards something with other people. My mother came to one game, just one. I was playing defense and I missed a block. The ball got past me and the other team scored. It was the only goal they scored that game. We still won 4-1. But after the game, my mother pulled me aside in the parking lot while I was still sweaty and breathing hard and feeling good about the win. "Maybe you'd be better at something less physical," she said, looking at my grass-stained uniform like it personally offended her. "Have you thought about choir? Or drama club? Something where you don't have to run around so much." I stayed in soccer. I liked it too much to quit. But my mother never came to another game. She'd ask how it went at dinner, that polite way of asking that made it clear she wasn't actually interested. "Did you win?" "Yeah, 3-2. "That's nice, honey." And then she'd change the subject. When I was 14, I gained weight. Not a lot, maybe 15, 20 pounds. Normal puberty stuff. My body changing, growing, doing what teenage bodies do. But my mother noticed immediately. The comments started small. "Are you sure you need seconds?" When I reached for more pasta at dinner. "That skirt is looking a little snug, don't you think?" When I got dressed for school. "Sarah, we should really talk about portion control." Delivered with that same concerned smile, like she was doing me a favor by pointing out my flaws. She bought a scale and put it in my bathroom. Digital. One of those fancy ones that measures body fat percentage and bone density and sends all the data to an app on your phone. She said it would help me stay aware, help me make better choices. Every morning I'd step on it and the number would greet me. Some days it was higher, some days it was lower. All days it was a reminder that I wasn't thin enough, that my body was something that needed to be managed and controlled and fixed. I stopped eating lunch at school. I'd pack a sandwich in the morning, throw it away at noon, and tell my mother I'd eaten it when she asked. I'd eat an apple for breakfast and skip afternoon snacks and pick at my dinner. The weight came off, 25 pounds in 4 months. My mother said I looked so much better, so much healthier. She bought me new clothes as a reward, size 4 jeans that fit perfectly because I'd starved myself into them. I didn't tell her about the dizzy spells, or the way my hair was falling out in the shower, or how I couldn't focus in class because all I could think about was food, or the night I fainted in my bedroom and woke up on the floor with a bruise on my forehead. She never asked. She just smiled and said I looked beautiful and took me shopping for more clothes in smaller sizes. It took me 4 years to recover from that eating disorder. 4 years of therapy and nutritionists and learning to eat again without calculating every calorie. Learning to look at my body as something other than a problem that needed solving. My mother never acknowledged what she'd done, never apologized for the scale or the comments or the way she'd taught me that my worth was measured in pounds. When I finally told her in college that I'd been in treatment, she looked confused. "Treatment for what?" "An eating disorder, Mom, from high school, remember?" "Oh, honey, you were never that bad. You were just being a typical teenage girl. We all worry about our weight at that age." Like it was normal. Like she hadn't created it. Like her voice wasn't the one in my head every time I looked in a mirror. High school was a constant stream of almost good enough. I got mostly A's with a few B's. I was in art club, wrote for the school newspaper, had a small group of close friends. Normal high school experience. But my mother only saw what was missing. "Why aren't you in honor society?" when I brought home my report card junior year. "Did you ask about AP classes? The Henderson's daughter is taking 3. "Have you thought about running for student council? It would look good on college applications." My guidance counselor told me I was doing great. She said my GPA was solid, my extracurriculars showed genuine interests. and colleges would be lucky to have me. My mother told me I was doing fine, but fine wasn't enough. Not if I wanted to get into a good school, not if I wanted to make something of myself. When it came time to apply to colleges, my mother had a list ready. Yale, Princeton, Stanford, Columbia, Brown. Schools that accept 3% of applicants. Schools where kids have been preparing since kindergarten with private tutors and summer programs, and resumes full of accomplishments I couldn't compete with. I wanted to go to State University. They had a great art education program. I could live on campus, get my teaching license, become a high school art teacher. That's what I wanted. But my mother said art wasn't a career, it was a hobby. You can paint on weekends, Sarah, but you need to think about your future. Business school, pre-law, pre-med, something practical, something that will actually support you. I applied to her schools to keep the peace, filled out the applications, wrote the essays, sent in the fees. I got rejected from every single one. Not waitlisted, not deferred. Rejected. Because I was a good student, but I wasn't exceptional, and those schools only take exceptional. My mother didn't say I told you so when the rejection letters came. She didn't have to. I could see it in her face every time I opened another thin envelope. That look of resigned disappointment. Like she'd expected this, but it still hurt to see it confirmed. I went to State University. I majored in art education. I spent 4 years learning how to teach, how to help teenagers find their creative voice, how to make art accessible and meaningful. I loved it. Every class, every practicum, every moment I spent in a classroom watching kids discover that they could make something beautiful. When I graduated, I got a job at the high school 2 towns over. I taught Introduction to Art and Advanced Studio and AP Art History. I was good at it. The kids liked me. My principal praised my lesson plans. Parents emailed to say their teenagers had never cared about art before my class. But when my mother introduced me at parties, she'd say, "This is my daughter Sarah. She works at the high school." Never said teacher. Never mentioned what I actually did. Just worked there, like I was in the cafeteria or the administrative office. When people asked what I did, she'd answer before I could. She's figuring things out, exploring her options. I was 26 years old with a career I loved, and she still couldn't admit I'd made the right choice. I met David at a friend's birthday party when I was 26 years old. Sarah from college was turning 27, and she'd rented out a back room at a bar downtown, invited 50 people, and told everyone to bring someone interesting. I brought wine. David brought stories. He was sitting at the end of the table wearing a vintage Star Wars t-shirt and jeans with a rip in one knee, talking to a group of people about why Empire Strikes Back was objectively the best film in the franchise. I sat down. He looked at me and grinned. "I'm David. What's your take on the Ewok question?" "I think they're adorable, and I will not be taking criticism." "Wrong answer, but I respect your honesty." We talked for 3 hours about movies and books and teaching and software engineering and every random topic that came up. He was funny, kind, genuine in a way that felt rare. He asked questions and actually listened to the answers. He laughed at my jokes. He told me about his job writing code for a startup and made it sound like the most fascinating thing in the world. When the party ended, he asked for my number. I gave it to him. We went on a first date to a Thai restaurant where we argued about whether pineapple belongs on pizza. A second date to a museum where we spent 2 hours looking at an exhibit about medieval manuscripts. A third date to a park where we had a picnic, and he told me about his family, and I told him about mine, and we both agreed that families are complicated. By the 4th date, I knew I was falling in love with him. By the 6th, I was sure. I brought David to Sunday dinner at my parents' house after we'd been dating for 2 months. My mother answered the door in cream-colored pants and a silk blouse, looking him up and down like she was evaluating a piece of furniture she was considering purchasing. David was wearing khakis and a button-down shirt, the most dressed up I'd ever seen him. And he'd combed his hair and everything. He shook my father's hand. He complimented my mother's house. He asked polite questions about my dad's work and my mother's book club. He was trying so hard. Over dinner, my mother asked about his job. "So you work in computers?" "Software engineering, yes. I work for a startup that's developing accessibility tools for people with disabilities." "Oh, how nice. And where did you go to school?" "Community college first. Then I transferred to state. Got my degree in computer science." My mother's smile didn't change, but I saw something flicker in her eyes. "State? The same place Sarah went?" "That's actually where we met. Friend's party." "And your family? What do they do?" David told her about his parents. His dad was a mechanic. His mom worked in a hospital cafeteria. Good people, hard-working. Raised him and his sister on a tight budget. He said it with pride. My mother said, "How nice," in that tone that meant anything but. After dinner, she pulled me into the kitchen while David was in the bathroom. "He seems very sweet, honey." "He is sweet. I really like him." "Just be careful. You're at an age where you might feel pressure to settle down. Don't make decisions based on fear of being alone." "I'm not afraid. I love him, Mom." She patted my hand, that patronizing little pat that made me feel like I was 12 again. "Of course you do, honey. I'm just saying, make sure you're thinking clearly." I knew what she meant. David wasn't what she'd envisioned for me. He didn't go to an Ivy League school. His parents weren't doctors or lawyers. He wore Star Wars t-shirts and played video games, and worked for a startup instead of an established company. He wasn't enough. Just like I'd never been enough. We dated for 2 years. 2 wonderful, normal, happy years. David met my friends, and I met his. We went to movies and cooked dinners together, and talked about the future in that casual way people do when they're building towards something. My mother tolerated him. She was polite at family dinners. She asked how his job was going. She remembered his birthday. But there was always this undercurrent of judgment. Little comments that seemed innocuous, but landed like tiny cuts. "David's very comfortable, isn't he?" When he showed up to Thanksgiving in jeans instead of slacks. "Has he thought about going back to school? An MBA might help his career." "Sarah, honey, have you guys talked about timelines? You're not getting any younger." I learned to ignore it, to change the subject, to protect David from the worst of her criticism. He knew she didn't approve of him, but I tried to shield him from exactly how much. Then David proposed. It was a Saturday in early spring. We'd been together for exactly 2 years and 3 months. He took me to the park where we'd had our first real date, that picnic on our 3rd time seeing each other. He'd set up everything the same way. Same blanket, same basket, same spot by the lake. We ate sandwiches and talked, and watched ducks swim by. Then he got down on one knee and pulled out a ring. "Sarah Mitchell, you are the kindest, funniest, most genuine person I've ever met. You make everything better. I love you so much, it's ridiculous. Will you marry me?" I said yes before he even finished the question. I was crying and laughing and saying yes, 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 over and over. He put the ring on my finger and kissed me, and we sat on that blanket for another hour, just being engaged, just being happy. I called my parents that night. I was so excited I didn't even think about preparing for my mother's reaction. I just wanted to share the news. "Mom, I'm engaged. David proposed." Silence on the other end. Then, carefully, "Congratulations, honey. When did this happen?" "Today. He did this whole thing at the park. It was perfect." "I see. And you didn't think to discuss this with us first?" I stopped. "Discuss what?" "Your engagement. Marriage is a big decision, Sarah. It affects the whole family. These are things we should talk about beforehand. It's my decision, mine and David's. Of course it is, but we're your parents. We have experience. We have perspective. You've only been together 2 years. That's not very long to really know someone. It's long enough for me to know I want to spend my life with him. My mother's voice was cool, controlled. Well, I'm sure you'll be very happy together. When's the wedding? We haven't set a date yet. We just got engaged 3 hours ago. Of course. Well, congratulations again. I'll let your father know. She hung up. I stood in my apartment holding my phone and feeling the happiness drain out of me, like someone had pulled a plug. David came up behind me, put his arms around my waist. How'd you take it? She said congratulations. But she asked why I didn't discuss it with her first, like I needed permission. David kissed the top of my head. We don't need her permission. We just need each other. He was right. But I'd lived my whole life trying to get my mother's approval. And even now, in this moment that should have been pure joy, she'd found a way to make me feel like I'd done something wrong. The next morning, my mother called again. Her voice was bright. Too bright. Sarah, honey, I've been thinking. You'll need help planning the wedding. There's so much to do. The venue, the catering, the flowers, the guest list. I want to contribute something special. Mom, you don't have to. I want to. Let me do this. A surprise for the reception. A video montage. I'll collect photos from your childhood, talk to family members, interview your old teachers and friends. I'll make something beautiful. Something everyone will remember. It'll be my gift to you and David. I hesitated. My mother had never made anything beautiful for me. Every gift, every gesture had come with strings attached. But I wanted to believe this was different. That her daughter getting married would somehow flip a switch. That she'd finally be proud of me. That she'd finally accept David. That this would be the turning point. Okay, I said. Thank you. That's really kind. It'll be perfect, sweetheart. Trust me. For the next 6 months, my mother threw herself into that video. She called relatives I hadn't spoken to in years, asking for photos. She contacted my elementary school teachers, my high school art instructor, my college roommate. She told everyone she was making something really special for my wedding. My aunt mentioned it at a family barbecue. Your mother is working so hard on this surprise. She's so excited about it. She says it's going to be the highlight of the reception. My high school art teacher, Mrs. Ramirez, ran into my mother at the grocery store and later texted me. Ran into your mom. She interviewed me for over an hour about you. She's putting so much love into this wedding video. Even David's mother heard about it. My mom had somehow gotten her number and called her asking if she had any photos from our first year together. Every few weeks, my mother would give me little updates. I found the most adorable photo of you from kindergarten. You were missing your 2 front teeth. I talked to Mrs. Chen, your piano teacher. She remembered you so fondly. Your 2nd grade teacher sent me a whole packet of old school assignments. This video is going to be amazing. I started to let myself believe it. Started to think maybe I'd been too hard on her. Maybe she really was happy for me. Maybe she really was trying to celebrate this moment in my life. 3 weeks before the wedding, I was at my parents' house helping address invitations. We'd been at the dining room table for 2 hours, my mother writing names in her perfect calligraphy, me stuffing envelopes and sealing them. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. Local area code. Voicemail notification. I almost ignored it. I got spam calls all the time. But something made me check. I stepped into the hallway to listen. Hi, this is Linda Mitchell calling about the wedding video for my daughter Sarah. My mother's voice. Professional. Crisp. I almost hung up. Obviously, the videographer had called her back and misdirected the message. But then she kept talking, and I froze. I wanted to give you some additional direction on the tone and content. I know we discussed this briefly before, but I want to make sure we're completely aligned. This isn't meant to be a typical sweet tribute video. I need you to understand that. This isn't about celebrating Sarah and making her look good. I want you to focus on the embarrassing moments, the failures. Really highlight them. I have specifics. She paused. I heard papers rustling. The time she wet herself in 3rd grade during the school assembly. I have a photo from right after. Her face was so red. Use that. Her acne phase in middle school. I want you to linger on those photos. Really show how bad it was. The boyfriend who dumped her at junior prom. I have the photo from prom with her crying mascara all over her face. Use that one full screen. Her college rejection letters. I kept all of them. Frame it like even Harvard didn't want her. The time she got fired from her summer job for being late 3 times. I have the termination letter. Include it. My hand was shaking. The phone trembled against my ear. My mother continued. Make it funny. Frame it like we're all laughing together, like it's all in good fun. But I want the subtext to be very clear. She's always been a bit of a mess. A bit of a disappointment, if we're being completely honest. I want people to see what I've had to deal with for 28 years. What David is signing up for. Because here's the thing. She didn't consult us before getting engaged. Didn't ask for our blessing. Didn't even give us a heads up. Just showed up one day with a ring and expected us to be thrilled that she's marrying a man who went to community college and works for a startup that's probably going to fail. So this is my wedding gift to her, the truth. I want every single person at that reception to see exactly who she really is, not the version she's trying to sell to David, not the version she thinks she is. The reality. Make sure the video is at least 10 minutes long. I want it to really sink in. I want people to be uncomfortable. I want them to squirm in their seats and wonder why I'm showing this. And then I want them to understand. This is what Sarah Mitchell is actually like. This is what my daughter is. Call me if you have any questions about specific photos, or if you need me to send additional material. This has to be perfect. The voicemail ended. I stood in my parents' hallway holding my phone and feeling like I couldn't breathe. Like someone had punched me in the stomach and knocked all the air out of my lungs. My mother wasn't making a tribute. She wasn't celebrating my wedding. She was planning a public humiliation. She wanted 200 people, my friends, David's family, our colleagues, everyone we knew, to watch a 10-minute video of every time I'd failed, every time I'd embarrassed myself, every reason I'd never been good enough. And she wanted it framed like a joke, so I couldn't even object without looking like I couldn't take a laugh. I saved the voicemail. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped my phone. Then I walked back into the dining room. My mother looked up and smiled. Everything okay? Yeah, just a vendor confirming some details. Good. We're almost done with these. Another hour and we'll be finished. I sat down. I picked up another invitation. I stuffed it in an envelope. I sealed it. I did this over and over, mechanical, automatic, while my mind screamed. When we finished, I drove home. I sat in my car outside my apartment for 30 minutes listening to that voicemail again, and again, and again. Making sure I hadn't imagined it. Making sure it said what I thought it said. Then I went inside and I told David everything. David listened to the entire recording. I watched his face change as my mother's voice filled our living room. Confusion first, then shock, then anger. When it finished, he was pale. His jaw was clenched. We're canceling the video. She'll just claim we're being ungrateful, that she worked so hard and we rejected her gift. Then we tell people why we canceled it. We tell everyone what she was planning. Or we let her play it. But first, I play the voicemail. David stared at me. You want to play that in front of 200 people? Your entire family? My parents? She wants to humiliate me in front of 200 people. I want them to know why. Sarah, that's nuclear. That will destroy your relationship with her. Probably with half your family. What relationship? She spent 28 years making me feel worthless. This is who she is. And I'm done pretending she's not. We sat with it for a long time. I played the voicemail twice more. David held my hand and listened, and didn't tell me what to do. Finally, he said, If you're absolutely sure this is what you want, I'll support you. But you have to be completely certain, because there's no taking this back. I was certain. I'd spent my entire life trying to be good enough for a mother who would never think I was good enough. I'd starved myself. I'd given up piano. I'd let her convince me I was a disappointment. I was done being quiet about it. I was done protecting her from the consequences of her own cruelty. I'm sure. The next 3 weeks were the longest of my life. I went to my final dress fitting. I tasted cakes and chose flowers and confirmed the playlist with the DJ. I had my bachelorette party, my rehearsal dinner, all these moments that should have been pure joy. And the whole time, I knew what was coming. I knew what my mother had planned. I knew what I was going to do about it. She was so sweet during those 3 weeks, so attentive. She kept giving me updates on the video. I'd just finished editing the final section. You're going to love it. Everyone I interviewed had such wonderful things to say about you. I can't wait for you to see this. It's going to be so special. Every word was a lie. Every smile was fake. And I smiled back and said thank you, and didn't tell her I knew. I didn't tell anyone except David. Not my bridesmaids, not my father, not any of the family. I just waited. The wedding day arrived, Saturday, May 15th. The weather was perfect. Sunny, 75 degrees, not a cloud in the sky. I got ready in a suite at the venue with my bridesmaids. Hair took 2 hours. Makeup took another hour. My dress was ivory lace, sleeveless, exactly what I'd wanted. My maid of honor cried when she saw me in it. You look so beautiful. I felt beautiful. I felt happy. I felt terrified. The ceremony was at 4. I walked down the aisle on my father's arm. My mother was in the front row, wearing champagne silk and pearls, dabbing at her eyes with a tissue like she was emotional. Like she was proud. Like she hadn't spent 6 months planning to destroy this day. I married David. We said our vows in front of everyone we loved. We promised to love each other, to support each other, to choose each other every single day. We kissed. Everyone clapped. We walked back down the aisle as husband and wife. The reception started at 6, cocktail hour in the garden, dinner in the main hall. The room was beautiful. White flowers everywhere, string lights hanging from the ceiling, tables set with china and crystal and candles. My mother had helped plan all of it, and it was perfect. That was the thing that hurt most. She could plan a perfect wedding. She just couldn't love her daughter. Dinner was salmon or chicken. Speeches started at 7:30. My maid of honor spoke first. She told funny stories about our friendship, about the first time she met David, about how happy she was to see me so happy. David's best man went next. He embarrassed David with stories from college, made everyone laugh, raised a toast. Then it was my turn. I stood up, walked to the microphone, looked out at 200 people watching me. My mother was at the head table with my father. She looked pleased, excited. She had her phone out, ready to record my reaction to the surprise video, ready to capture the moment her gift played. I took a breath. Thank you all so much for being here tonight. This day has been more than I ever dreamed of, more than I ever thought I'd have. I'm so grateful to everyone who helped make it happen. I paused, looked at my mother. Especially to my mother, who's been working so hard on a very special surprise for tonight. A video she's been making for the past 6 months. She's told everyone it's going to be the highlight of the reception. My mother was beaming. But before we get to that surprise, I want to share something with all of you. Something I found 3 weeks ago. A voicemail my mother left for the videographer. A voicemail that I don't think she meant for me to hear. The room got quiet. My mother's smile faltered. I pulled out my phone. I think you should all hear it. I held the phone up to the microphone, pressed play. My mother's voice filled the reception hall, crystal clear through the sound system. Hi, this is Linda Mitchell calling about the wedding video for my daughter Sarah. I wanted to give you some additional direction on the tone and content. The room went completely silent. You could have heard a pin drop. I watched people's faces change as they listened, confusion turning to shock, turning to horror. I watched my aunt's mouth fall open. I watched David's mother's face go pale. I watched my bridesmaids stare at my mother with expressions I couldn't read. I watched my mother stand up, her face draining of all color. Sarah, turn that off right now. I didn't turn it off. The voicemail continued. This isn't meant to be a typical sweet tribute video. I want you to focus on the embarrassing moments. The time she wet herself in 3rd grade. People were gasping. My cousin Emma had her hand over her mouth. Her acne phase in middle school. The boyfriend who dumped her at junior prom. I want you to linger on those photos. My mother was crying now. Not sad crying. Angry, humiliated crying. Sarah, stop this! My father was sitting frozen in his seat, staring at his plate like he could disappear into it. She's always been a bit of a mess. A bit of a disappointment, if we're being completely honest. I want people to see what I've had to deal with. The room erupted. People were whispering, gasping, some of them looking at me with sympathy, others looking at my mother with disgust. She didn't consult us before getting engaged, didn't ask for our blessing, just showed up with a ring and expected us to be thrilled that she's marrying a man who went to community college. David's father stood up. His face was red. So this is my wedding gift to her. The truth. I want every single person at that reception to see exactly who she really is. The voicemail ended. The silence that followed was deafening. Then my mother screamed. Actually screamed. How dare you! How dare you do this! I worked on that video for 6 months. 6 months! I did it because I love you. You did it because you wanted to hurt me. My voice was shaking but loud, clear. You spent 6 months making a video to humiliate me in front of everyone I love, because I had the audacity to be happy. Because I chose someone you didn't approve of. Because I lived my life instead of the life you wanted for me. That's not true. You're twisting everything. The video was meant to be funny. You said I was a disappointment. You said you wanted people to be uncomfortable. You said you wanted them to see the truth about who I really am. My Aunt Lisa stood up. Linda, what the hell is wrong with you? My mother whirled on her. Stay out of this. This is between me and my daughter. You tried to destroy her wedding. We all just heard it. Other voices joined in. My mother's friends, family members, people taking sides. The room was chaos. David came to the microphone, put his arm around me. If anyone wants to leave, we completely understand. But for those who are staying, we're about to cut the cake, and we'd love for you to celebrate with us. My mother grabbed her purse. Her hands were shaking so badly she could barely open it. "I'm leaving, and anyone who has any decency, any respect for me at all, will leave with me." About 60 people stood up, mostly my mother's friends from book club and the country club, her sister and 2 of her cousins, a few of our older relatives who looked uncomfortable and confused. They filed out in a rush of whispers and judgment and sideways glances. My mother stopped at the door, turned back, looked directly at me. Her face was blotchy from crying. Her mascara was running. "You've humiliated me. In front of everyone. You've destroyed me." "No, Mom. I just stopped letting you destroy me." She walked out. The door closed behind her. The remaining 140 people sat in stunned silence for maybe 30 seconds. Then my college roommate started clapping. Slowly at first. Then others joined. Not everyone, maybe half the room, but enough. Enough people who'd heard that voicemail and understood what my mother had tried to do. We cut the cake. We had our first dance. About 140 people stayed, and we had a reception. It wasn't the reception I'd planned. It wasn't the fairy tale ending, but it was real. It was honest, and everyone there knew exactly who my mother was. No more pretending, no more hiding. Just the truth, out in the open, for everyone to see. My father found me around 10 o'clock. The reception was winding down. People were leaving, saying their goodbyes, hugging me and telling me I was brave, or that they were sorry, or that they'd always suspected my mother was difficult. My father looked like he'd aged 10 years since the ceremony. "I didn't know," he said quietly. "About the video. About what she was planning." "I know, Dad." "I should have known. I've watched her do this to you your whole life. The criticism, the impossible standards, the way she made you feel like you were never good enough. I saw it, and I never stopped it." "Why didn't you?" He looked at me with tears in his eyes. "Because I'm a coward. Because it was easier to let her be cruel to you than to stand up to her and deal with her being cruel to me." "I failed you. I'm so sorry, Sarah. I'm so sorry." "What are you going to do about it?" He took a breath. "I don't know yet. But something. I promise you, something." He hugged me. It was the first time he'd hugged me in years. Really hugged me. Not just a quick squeeze at holidays. He held on like he was afraid to let go. 3 days after the wedding, my phone started ringing. My mother's friends, her book club, her country club friends. Women I barely knew calling to tell me I'd been disrespectful, that I'd humiliated my mother, that what I did was cruel and unforgivable. Some of them were crying. Some of them were angry. All of them thought I was wrong. I blocked every number. I didn't argue. I didn't defend myself. I just deleted the voicemails and moved on. My mother sent an email, 5 pages long, single-spaced, explaining that I'd misunderstood the voicemail, that the video had been meant to be funny, lighthearted, a loving roast, that she'd been trying to make everyone laugh, not humiliate me, that I'd twisted her words and made her sound cruel when all she'd wanted was to celebrate me, that I'd destroyed her reputation, her friendships, her standing in the community, that I'd broken her heart. I read it once, then I deleted it. My father sent a text 2 weeks after the wedding. "Your mother and I are going to counseling. I should have done this 20 years ago." I responded, "Good." 2 months later, a letter arrived. My mother's handwriting on the envelope. I almost threw it away unopened, but something made me sit down and read it. "Sarah, I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't know if I can forgive you for what you did at your wedding. But your father says we need to talk about the past, about how I treated you growing up, about the things I said and did that hurt you. I'm working with a therapist now, Dr. Martinez. She specializes in family dynamics and parent-child relationships. She says I have control issues stemming from my own childhood. My mother was very critical, very demanding. I spent my whole life trying to please her and never succeeding. Dr. Martinez says I projected that onto you, that I tried to control you because I felt controlled, that I hurt you because I was hurt. I don't know if that excuses anything. It probably doesn't. But I want you to know that I'm trying to understand why I did what I did. Why I spent your entire childhood making you feel like you weren't good enough. Why I planned to humiliate you at your wedding instead of celebrating you. I'm trying to understand it. That's all I can offer right now. I kept the letter. I read it several times over the following weeks. I didn't respond. 6 months after the wedding, my mother called. I stared at her name on my screen for 5 rings before I answered. "Sarah, it's your mother." "I know." "I'm calling to ask if you'd be willing to meet with me, with Dr. Martinez, just once." "I'm not asking you to forgive me. I'm not asking for a relationship. I'm asking for 1 hour of your time so I can apologize properly, in person, with a professional there to help me say what I need to say. Will you consider it?" I thought about it for a week, talked it over with David, with my therapist, with my closest friends. Finally, I said yes. We met at Dr. Martinez's office on a Tuesday afternoon in November. The office was small, warm, filled with plants and soft lighting. My mother was already there when I arrived. She looked smaller than I remembered, older, tired. We sat across from each other in overstuffed chairs, and my mother cried for the first 15 minutes. Just cried. Dr. Martinez sat between us, calm and professional, letting the tears happen. Finally, my mother started talking. She talked about her own mother, my grandmother, who'd been cold and critical and impossible to please. About growing up feeling like nothing she did was ever good enough. About marrying my father to escape and then realizing she'd just brought all that dysfunction with her. About having me and seeing an opportunity to do better, to be better, and instead, doing exactly what had been done to her. "I wanted you to be perfect, because I wasn't allowed to be imperfect," she said, voice breaking. "I wanted you to be everything I wasn't, thin and accomplished, and married to the right kind of man. And when you were just you, just a regular kid who made mistakes and had struggles and wanted to be an art teacher instead of a lawyer, I couldn't handle it. So I tried to fix you. I tried to mold you into what I thought you should be. And instead, I broke us. I broke you. I broke our relationship. I broke everything." I listened. I didn't interrupt. I didn't cry. I just listened. At the end of the session, Dr. Martinez asked if I wanted to say anything. "I needed you to love me as I was, not as who you wanted me to be. You never did that. You spent my entire childhood making me feel worthless, and then you tried to ruin my wedding because I finally found someone who loved me exactly as I am. I don't know if you can change. I don't know if we can fix this, but if you want to try, I'm willing to see. Just barely. Just enough to meet like this once a month and see what happens." My mother nodded. "I want to try. I know I don't deserve it, but I want to try." We've been trying for a year now, monthly sessions with Dr. Martinez. Sometimes just my mother and me. Sometimes my father joins. We talk about the past, about specific incidents, about the piano recital and the eating disorder and the college applications and the wedding video. My mother apologizes. Sometimes the apologies feel real. Sometimes they feel rehearsed. But she's trying. She still makes comments sometimes. Still can't help offering advice I didn't ask for. But now she catches herself. "Sorry, that was inappropriate. You didn't ask for my opinion. It's not perfect. It's not healed. But it's something." My father actually divorced her. 8 months after the wedding, he filed papers. He said he'd spent 30 years watching her be cruel to me, and he couldn't do it anymore. He said he wanted to be a better person, and he couldn't do that while staying married to her. They're still in therapy separately, working through their own issues. My mother lives alone now in a smaller house across town. She seems sad sometimes, diminished. I don't know if I feel sorry for her. I don't know if I should. The wedding video never played. After realizing the cruelty of the wedding video, the mother deleted it, and the daughter established firm boundaries for their relationship moving forward. A year later, happily married and embracing her true self, the daughter focuses on building a family based on unconditional love. She keeps the exposing voicemail as a powerful reminder of the day she finally chose herself and stopped apologizing for her imperfections.